You sent it the link out?
What's this? Camera. Okay, people, blessings, blessings, blessings. Sorry for the late start. I trust everybody's doing well out there in listening and viewing land. It's tough for him coming back at you one more time again in the September month. All right, I'm going to just run through this real quick. I hope this is working out on the platforms that I've put it out on. It's been a minute since I've been on here, but here we go anyway. Just doing it right off the script, no script. But just want to get some things off of my chest. So as it stands right now, we're in the month of September. First week gone down. Kids went back to school. Whole bunch of small people on the roads. And over the weekend past, we had a string of violence and prompted many talks. So tonight, just want to just go and just, vent a little bit and see if anybody else had anything to say. I left a little link in there. If anybody see the link, you can tap on that link and got at least 10 people I can get to if you want to speak your mind on this topic tonight about what's going on. We used to sing that song, Do You Remember? Yes, back in the time of September. And here we are in September, but it's not a time for dancing as we should be. Just on the weekend past, we had 11 shootings and 3 people died in that shooting, in those shootings. One in particular in the area that I used to live at for many years down in the North York area, the Black Creek area, right in the area, right across from a police station, a 15-year-old boy who should have been in his third or fourth day of high school, got shot, was targeted, and died. And so I brought my wife in tonight, my partner in Christ, not crime. And we were just talking about what's really going on. And I was listening to some talk radio, and people were mentioning things like, two particular things that an individual brought up was that these gun violence that we're seeing, it has a lot to do with black on black crime. And that was a fact that I could not run from, being a person that's black and seeing it on the TV and seeing what's going on. He also said that a lot of these homes, basically because of the disproportionate um, numbers that we get from the black side of it, that there's absentee fathers. And so it prompted a question: are these the two main reasons why there's such high levels of black on black violence? The absenteeism of fathers in the house. And so I asked a little question, a little survey question around, and just checked a few people and said, you know what? You have people who are single mothers. You have people who don't have the fathers in the house. Tell me what you see, and based on some of the anecdotal evidences that we see with people that we know, we're saying, are we seeing people in here? Are we seeing people that are falling into this trap, and they're out here just shooting, carjacking, doing all kinds of nonsense? And what we realized was that this tree has many, many branches, and those were just two of the problems that we see with the absentee fathers. But he also mentioned police not in the schools. And it was also a fact that many black people didn't want to take the police out of schools, but nonetheless, because of certain activism and other plights, police were out of the school. And some bad actors in the same police force too caused that, because of certain stereotypes and whatever, right? And targeting. So what I wanted to ask and really check out was what's really going on and what's happening in September, in a time when we should be in school. What were you doing? Do you remember what you were doing when you were 15, when you were 14, 13? For months now, I've been doing posts on my YouTube channel and talking about, young people, 13, 14, 15, girls, even
Yeah.
boys, and they're shooting, they're killing, they're stabbing, and there seems to be no remorse, no regard for life. And I was wondering what is happening within our society. Another question that bothered me was, who are the men that are talking to these young boys that are committing these acts of violence? And it started me thinking again, well, who are these men? A question was asked, these young people who are shooting and doing the shooting and the carjackings, etc., where are their parents? So after weighing so many questions, I know it's a lot, but I weighed so many questions, and we have some people that you can see that a single mother may be in a house, but you see them raise, for example, I know some that might have two or three children or four children. Two might be on this side of the law, and two are upstanding citizens, right? So you have that. You have people who don't have the father figure in the house, but the child came out to be a model citizen. So though I believe that, absentee fathers in the house, especially in the black community, is a problem, I don't think it's the number one factor. And though police are not in school, I also don't know if it's a deterrent if they're in the schools. But I just don't know, where do we go beyond there in seeing what other solutions we have and what other problems we have. But the big elephant in the room still is that we have this black on black violence, especially when it comes to the guns that are coming in, and it seems to be prevalent within our society and our community. So I don't know, Angie, what did you get from what you've been seeing with the violence and the young people, and what were you doing when you were 15 and 14?
Well, when I was 15 and 14, we weren't shooting people. Yes, we got into our little fights and our little tips and stuff like that, but um, our attitude towards life was different. I find we respected life, we respected our elders. We just had a level of respect that we weren't going around killing people because you stepped on my shoes or anything like that. Um, when we talk about, homes that have absent fathers, or homes that are single parent, could be a single parent father, a single parent mother. There's single parents that are there, and you also have parents that that are two home parents. But what I want us to understand is that although you can have a single parent home, although you could have a mother and father in the home, it all depends on what that child also wants to come out to do,
Hmm.
right? So the parents and society, it says it takes a village to raise a child. It's where society and the parents and certain rules and regulations and obedience is something that needs to be done in the homes. It is also up to the child also to decide what path they want to take. Right? There's been many homes that, and we've known some single parents, and their child turned out to be lawyers. Their child turned out to be very upstanding people in society. And then we also know parents that children have two parents in their home, and their child is constantly in and out of jail, right? So it's like you said before, there's so many different branches to this problem. There's so many different things that, how do we solve this, right? Where does it start from? And I believe it starts from the home. I believe it starts in the school. I believe also when you look at with the police, how they react. We were taught we were supposed to trust police, and then if you hear about it, we don't trust police,
Yep.
right? So there's a lot of things that have been broken down that needs to be rebuilt back up, right? Family values, Christian values, godly values, respect for life. What do you want to be when you grow up? Where are you going? What do you want to do? Constant conversations to find out where a child's mind is at. And then also you also have some adults who have never grown up and
Mm,
they're raising children,
mm.
right? So their mentality is, by any means necessary, right? And they raise their children in that same format, that same principle of life, and they grow up in that. So it becomes a vicious cycle, right? So I think there's so many different, levels to this, and how do we get back to that is why we have these discussions, so we could figure out a way that we can get back our young youth to where they need to be in society.
All right, all right. So there you have it. So as a woman, if thank God, you see your children grow up, and for the most part they've seen both parents in the home. Um, how would you feel like that shaped them differently, as if say I wasn't in the home?
um I think with you being around in the home, being around so seems so thing, but I believe with you being there, because at the end of the day, I mean, if you have to do it, if as a single parent you have to raise your child on your own, you're gonna find a way to do it. You're gonna find the strength, you're gonna find everything you need to do it. But with you being around, it taught, Andrew and Ashton things I couldn't teach them. I couldn't teach Andrew and Ashton how to be a man, right? There's just certain things that you go through as a man that I can't, they could explain it to me, but I'll never understand it because I'm not a man. There's things that you taught Anisha, our daughter, on what a man is supposed to be that I can never show her, right? So having you around helped to shape the boys to who they are today, understand responsibility, you know what I mean? Taking care of your children, you got to, be the provider for your children, how to speak to your children, to our grandchildren. Um, I wouldn't be able to teach them that. I can show them, I can explain it to them, but the actual fact and how to be a man and how to, do certain things as a man, I couldn't do that. That has to come from a man. And the same thing with me. I can't they can't you can't teach them how to be a woman, how to be a
Okay,
mother, how to nurture, right? That has to come from me. We all have our roles to play.
good. So with that being said, I'm asking for people to chime in and speak your mind tonight if you want to, because I believe we know that these individuals out there who are shooting, etc., they have parents, and if they don't have someone in the home, my question is, who are they speaking to? Who is influencing them out there to make them want to go? Because you can't tell me these guys are in school. The ones who are carjacking quite frequently, and home invasions and all these other things, what are they doing? Like, there's no school time for them. Where are their parents? Are they just out there on their own, or they left to the elements and these other so-called men who are guiding them in the wrong path? That is my question.
Percy joined.
Yes, I know Percy will be just probably watching. Anytime you want to chime in, just let me know. There,
Yeah, yeah, man. I really want to chime in right now. Good evening, pleasant good evening, everyone.
blessings.
I'm on my break time right here, so I figure, but my partner there, Brother Andrew, thanks for the link again, and the topic at hand, I didn't get to come on right at the start, but based on our previous conversation, I know it has to do with the whole incident of last weekend, and the massive shooting and the carjacking and
Yes, etc.
all of the different things that our youths are involved in. And not only the youth, but we have some middle-aged men and that are involved in some of these things. But as your wife rightly said, I believe that, as the Bible says, you should train up a child in the way that they should grow, that when they get old, they will not depart. But, you know, being an example of that, I was born and raised in the church. And there come a time when I just unknowingly just rebel. And my rebellion come in womanizing. And I would, everything that moves, I would think that, that's a good thing. And then somebody always say to me, even from my community, they would go, that's not Percy.
Right.
That's not Mr. Plummer's, Elder Plummer's son. So I'll be there. And then some of my friends, up till today, they would make fun of it, and they go like, "How many times you were out there with us? And it doesn't matter what happened when the daylight, your name is like, well, even though we said Percy's the one that was throwing the stone, he was the one that steal the people in coconut. They will be like, no, 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 not this guy. So at the end of the day, it's like a lot of us and these youths nowadays, they're very vulnerable. And because of the need of stuff, that time back in my time, we were just mischievous.
Mhm.
But these kids now are taking things to a different level where they think that we're living in a microwave world and I want it now. And they're easily influenced because of the want of stuff, and they think they have to have all the bling and the glamour and the nice cars, and if they don't have all of that. This year, I mean, over the weekend, the shooting that went on, a young man from within my community, he was gunned down, 37-year-old Tristan McNally.
Mhm.
He's from within my region.
Yeah, another Bram.
Yeah,
Hmm.
no, he's from Clarendon, where we're from.
Okay, oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and what happened is that he was at a he's from Brampton, but he was at a after hours
Yes.
party kind
Yep.
of thing,
Yep.
and something happened. You know what I'm saying? I was in Florida when it happened.
Yep.
But to tell you, and one of the guys I was talking there goes, this guy he hardly parties. He's not a party guy. But for some reason, he was out there.
Mhm.
Something must have happened. I don't know the logistics behind the whole thing. But next thing you know, he was shot. He was
Wrong,
killed.
wrong time.
I don't know if there was anything prior to that. I don't know what went on. But the bottom line is he's dead.
That's
Hmm.
what I'm saying.
37 years old.
That's what I'm saying, Percy. And look, that same gentleman, I think the days are, if it was not the same day or a day before, they found
Hmm.
a man in Brampton dead in his car. They thought he
Yeah.
was sleeping, and they found out this man was shot. So you have
Hmm.
another two Brampton people dead,
Hmm.
and then you have this gentleman, 15 years old. When I see the picture on the TV, I'm like, my God,
Oh man.
um,
Oh man.
guy looks so innocent and small. Like what?
Yeah.
Like my question, Percy, what were you doing at 14 and 15? Just before you answer though, just today or yet is it today or yesterday? I heard in BC, I believe, a 13 or
Hmm.
14-year-old girl burned lit somebody on fire.
Yeah, we have
Hmm.
that.
Like I don't know if it was because of bullying or what, but what were you doing in September when you were 13, 14, 15?
Well, if I can recall clearly what I was doing at that age. That age would be my first or second year in high school,
Okay.
secondary school, and I was given responsibility from early
Mhm.
because we have a store, we call it a shop. I used to call it Mix Knocks, and I was given that responsibility to be in that shop, and I used to run that business at that time. So
Mm,
responsibilities was already placed on me,
okay.
and
Yeah.
even though I had the womanizing habit, I make sure that if this shop goes down, the whole family goes down.
Right.
So you know what I mean? It's only by God's grace, and the foundation that was laid for me is like the straight and narrow.
Mm-hmm.
So what I see happening, even then at 14, there were still young men in my community at 12, 13, 14, 15 are going to jail.
Okay.
Because I tell you one thing, if you live in my community till you're 18 or 19 and don't go to jail, you're in history book. So
You're
it's
like an
not like
anomaly.
it's big time. It's
Yeah.
abnormal.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That one time the judge tell some of the people in my community, if I see another one from your community coming to the jail, I don't come into the court. I won't even try the case. You're going straight to prison. So
Okay.
bring your toothbrush, bring your toothpaste, and you're gonna go up.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, as Bob Marley says, in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back in my time at 14, we're living in a different era now. They're more pure pressure, but back then we still have pure pressure because my parents used to bald my head. I used to only have one hairstyle, clean. And these guys the bigger boys used to just use their finger and lick my ears like this, just nip it. And
Yeah.
when I look around, they just start laughing at me. But so there was still peer pressure. I was brought up in a good family, but at the end of the day, some of the finer things we couldn't afford to do certain things. But at the end of the day, how you carry yourself, they think that we're rich people. So at the end of the day, my brother, the pressure is here. When I came to Canada, I live in Grand Ravine, down the lane.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to take the bus from Grand Ravine to Brampton to work. So sometimes we blame the system and we don't try to make use of ourselves in our youthfulness. So everything now, the system becomes an enemy. Everybody becomes an enemy because we have a different outlook. And for my last thing that I'm gonna say is that
Yeah.
a lot of us, not everybody, a lot of us experience what we do. We see the wrongs coming through the door every day, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we support the wrongdoing
Okay.
and we find refuge. And even if family member says, "Hello, Percy, come here. I know this is happening. Your son is coming in 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning." I identify where something, the area that I passed him yesterday, is not a good sign.
Okay.
He's not going to Umber College from that direction.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
So what we do now, if you talk to him and I talk to him, or you talk to me, first thing I'm gonna put up the fence. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
why you talk about my kid like that? As your wife said, the village used to raise a child, but
Mhm.
everybody's sensitive now. So people just said, even if I see your son in the dungeon, I close my eyes because you're gonna curse me out anyway.
Right.
So I believe some of that is the contributing factor. Just some of it, not every parent. You have some parents that are really trying hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that input. Before you you can listen. I'm gonna ask a question right now, and maybe my wife will chime in here. But you know, we don't want to beat the thing. So why you don't see me so often on here? For all those who are get to see this, if you know you can come on tonight, it's just that it gets to a point sometime where you're always talking about death, and this platform is dealing with death and dealing with violence and the fact that men are dying and dying at a high rate. But in the midst of the dying, and why tonight I felt the need to come on is because this one hits because the world is seeing, or our community, our country in particular, is seeing that there's a lot, there's a issue with black on black crime when it comes to gunplay. I mean,
Mhm,
if we were gonna go and say a disproportionate number and put stats out there, we can say there's a white on white element too. I mean, just last week, a man is now alleged to have killed his mother and his grandmother. Right
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
now, it
mhm,
wasn't gunplay, but because
mhm,
gunplay is so on in our news cycle, it raises the tension. So let's not go with the white and black, but we're gonna deal with the black though,
Yeah.
because we're black and we're saying we're seeing it.
mhm,
So
mhm,
what I want to leave right now, and just maybe my wife will chime in here because she said something that was very powerful. Because even though this small percentage of people that we see doing the violence and people dying, we know that it's not nowhere comparable to those who are actually
Very
graduating,
successful.
who are being successful, those who are even being raised in a home that may not have a father present, but the mother has done such a great job, and with the help of others, like it says, takes a village. Their child has excelled, they've graduated, they've made university, they're in a good job, they're working class citizens, and their children is growing up to emulate them also. So that number is a higher percentage, but even though it's higher, the fringe elements that we're seeing right now that are killing each other and carjacking and maiming innocent people, I mean, I have to still, my heart bleeds to say, why is this? And if two of the elements that they're bringing up is that homes without fathers and police not in schools, okay, then what are the other branches that are really contributing to this? That even though it's a small number, what else can we do, or how do we address some of these issues when we hear these things that affect us? That, well, why are blacks killing blacks, and
Mm-hmm.
why are there no fathers in the house?
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear that, Angie, as a mother, and you see it though, and it's like you it hurts, but
Yeah.
how do you address that when you tell me from your very own mouth, well, the numbers aren't there to support, like,
Yes.
so speak
Yeah.
on that. Excuse me one second.
No worries. So the thing is for me is that we're media news is news, right? And you know, I I want to just stick it out there that it's not every black boy, it's not every motherless, fatherless home that has these problems, or a father, a single parent. The thing is that the news does bring it, and because it's happening every single day, it looks like there's a lot of it going on, and there is a lot. There's a significant amount, but there's also a significant amount that are people that are going to school that have that level of responsibility. But I like what Brother Percy said when he talked about the responsibility,
Hmm.
where at a young age he was responsible in a shop, right? And it says, the devil finds work for idle
Idle hands.
hands. And I find sometimes what happens is that our young people are too idle,
Hmm.
right? There's not that level of responsibility. If you remember, and you and I, when we were growing up, we had responsibilities,
Definitely.
and us being the oldest of their siblings. I mean, we both have just one sibling, but being older, we had responsibility. You had to come home, make sure the rice cook.
Yep.
You start the pot before your parents came
Something.
home. There was something. There was a level of responsibility. Our rooms had to be clean. Saturday morning was cleaning time. There was a level of responsibility.
I had to be there too.
Yes, yes, you had to be there, right? There's a level of responsibility, and I find what has happened is that, so we can say for ourselves, so the way that our parents disciplined us
Yep.
and pulled us up high, we were like, we're never doing that to our children. So we slacked off a little bit on that discipline,
Okay.
and that continues to
Okay.
go down, right? So where Saturday morning you got up early morning, by 8 o'clock we were up and that house had to be clean and
Yeah.
tidy. We might have slacked off and said, as long as it gets done on Saturday,
Okay.
we are okay. Do you see what I'm saying? And that trickles down to behaviors, right? Where we were like school, 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 school. Not everybody had that same kind of, you got to get school, you got to get school, you got to get school, right? Because especially if their parents weren't one that was raised
Hmm.
with education and ways with whatever, they didn't push that, right? So it comes down to a lot of different avenues. But if we could just literally get back to basics, and that is getting our children back to a place where they respect each other, they respect themselves,
Hmm.
first of all, they love themselves, right? And respect elders. Like, get back to like basic things, communication. That is so key. Like,
Yeah.
although, I mean, our parents really didn't ask how we were doing. Our parents
No,
were
no.
like, get to school. But nowadays, these children, these young people need that communication.
Good point.
What is your thought process? What do you think about all this black on black crime? How do you feel about bullying? What's going on with all these shootings?
Hmm.
And get their input, right? Because remember, they're all at the same age. So if you have a conversation with another 15-year-old, and because this 15-year-old just got shot, you're like, okay, what's going on in the schools that these young people feel that they have to shoot someone else, right? That they have to um respond in such a violent way, right? So back in ideas, did we fight? Yes. Was there bullying? Yes. Did we, you bullied me today, I bullied you tomorrow, right? It was kind of a little bit different. But nowadays, we really need to zero in on what it is that we are missing, because we are missing something,
Okay.
right? And as adults, and because we're out of the picture, we may not see what the young people are seeing. So they also need to come and talk to us and say, boy, you know what,
Okay.
guys, you totally missed this.
Okay. You know what? I like what you said there about the communication, and what has changed definitely is technology.
Hmm.
We never had cell phones walking around. Like we
No.
had the big right,
Yes,
right, or
telephone.
the push button. So
Hmm.
I mean, we had to communicate. I mean,
Yes.
I had to talk with my sister. I had to talk to my friends, and I find like nowadays people's phone or heads are in there like this. So even though they have siblings, they may not communicate as well. And even as parents and children, they may not communicate that way
Correct.
either because they're so in their devices. Another
Correct.
thing also to add to this tree, to these branches on these trees, is that um, the kids are so. We had peer pressure, but it's
Yes.
almost like if someone does something in rebellion, someone is like, okay, I'm gonna rebel too. Or if they find that someone can be disrespectful to um, adult figure or
Yeah.
authority figure and get away with it,
Mm-hmm.
or the person viewing this sees that, whoa, that person just swore at a teacher or just threw something at a police officer or somebody, a bus conductor or whatever it is, or a boss,
Yes.
and nothing happened, and they came back the next day or something. I think those things say, well, holy, he got away with that, or she got away with that. Oh, he did that. And then it's like, oh, you're talking to me now, and you didn't do nothing to that person. So I think that element also is there, where people see, it's almost like the boundaries that they want to test go deeper than they used to. That's just one of my belief. I don't know what you want, Percy. If you're there, you want to chime in on what I just said there with that?
Yeah, yes, again. I truly believe that what your wife just said
Hmm.
um, about the lack of respect. And I found this out quite a while. When I came to this country, and I remember I used to go to parties from east to west. One
Hmm.
soup and knock, I'm there. And I remember one night we went to a like a basement kind of party, and everybody have on them trench coats and things. And I'm talking about 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And you step on a man like it's a dark place. So you have to use all your phone light or your flashlight. That time they have this big phone that people walk around with. So there's not
Yeah.
even light on it. So man used to just light them light and go through. And if you step on a man's shoes from them time, a man goes, a big man, what you do? And a man is ready to step to you. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it might step to you and there's an argument, and the argument, man and man might come in and the argument quash this, and we just leave it again, and tomorrow we're up on the street and everything good. But these kids now, because I believe that one of the big things is the penalties are not severe enough for them to have fear.
Mm.
The penalties are not severe enough for them to have any fear of not
Okay.
knowing that.
That discipline.
No, touch that penalty part there. Touch it again.
Yes. What my thing is, and this goes for all ethnic group,
Hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
since we are talking about our own Black Lives Matters,
Hmm.
is that you lock me up, I come out, you lock me up Friday. If I don't get a bail here in 24 hours, I get money, or I come out, and then the same young man, I'm the same guy that just go pipe. I come out, there's no remorse, there's no healing process. So I come out now and it's all good, and man just big you up, big man, you go in and come out, and
Yes.
yeah, this bin thing now become like a status thing where, yo, dog, we're going on the bin and come out, I'm there, and him get him strike. So what I think should happen moving forward is that penalties should be a little bit more severe, so
Yes.
we and the youth become more responsible, because so when you go in the pen, which a lot of them from them go in the Monday, them go in the Friday, and them don't know, so you're not getting a bail here until Monday morning.
Hmm.
Them start crying on Saturday, so them not get them rice and peas. The Sunday dinner, some of the man them know, so you either go there and understand. We're talking about hard truth right now, because we are feeling around the thing and feeling around it. And it's like if we land the plane and speak what it means, right? And some of us, Black Lives Matters only when the white man kill one of us on the street.
Yep.
Black
Yep.
lives should matters all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. You are right, and this is why it hurts me that though the stats may be smaller for those who are dying compared to those who might be graduating
Mhm,
the right things, the fact of
mhm.
the matter is that people are still dying, and you just touch a very point. The penalties are
The
not
penalties.
consequential enough, because if
No.
when I heard this talk radio show host say what he said about the police out of schools and the fatherless homes, he also mentioned, I
Mhm.
bet you all these people who did these shootings and they haven't found them yet, when they do find them, even that 15-year-old boy who got shot, you probably find that his shooter or shooters were already on bail. And plenty of these people who they've taken 500 guns off the road
Yeah.
in like a short space of time, Percy. And
Come on now, man.
they have rearrested the people that they've arrested, have already been out on bail once, twice. So
Yeah.
prison has no, it seems like once they see that I can get back on the road, it's like there's no regard for anything else. Yes.
But I also want to say, before we even get to prison,
Yeah.
right? Before we even get to our prison system, right? That lack of discipline, that lack of fear had to come from somewhere, right? So the thing about it is, if your child gets in trouble, right? And I mean, you know, you always give your child a pass, right? So you get in trouble this one time, okay, but the next time there's no next time, because the fear that that child has gotten from his environment is that I
Hmm.
never want to go back in that again, right? So when a
No.
child gets, like, I was very hardened, right? I was very stubborn, right? So you know, most children, apart from being stubborn, if you get disciplined,
Yep.
you don't want to feel that again, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be grounded again. You don't want to get spanked again. You don't want to be in trouble again, because that
Mhm.
fear,
Those spanking
yeah,
don't even bring
well,
up
we
that,
won't even bring up the
because
spanking, but what I'm saying, even discipline in the sense of you're being grounded, discipline in the sense I'm taking away your phone. You know, you've done something, so because you've
there's
done
a
something, there's a
consequence.
Mhm.
consequence for
Consequence.
that bad behavior.
Yes.
And what
Yeah.
sometimes happens is there's no consequence for the bad behavior.
Mhm.
So now when
Mhm.
they go to
Mhm.
prison and they're coming out, because they've never had that consequence
True.
all their
Mhm.
lives, there's no fear of
Contact.
them be
Facts.
having that fear. So now they go
If
to
I.
jail, right?
Mhm.
And you know
Mhm.
they talk a very good story. Oh, mommy, daddy, you want to know? Blah 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 blah. And the parents bail them out. Okay, fine.
Yes.
You get that one pass, right? But when you come home and after that conversation with your parents, the child of that person should never feel that they want to go back
That's
through
right.
that again.
That's right.
Do you understand
No.
what I'm saying? But then what
No.
happens now? The child ends up in trouble again. Bam, bail come out again. Mommy and daddy, whoever bails them out again. There's been times when people have been bailed 3, 4 times by their parents. And instead the parents say, you know what?
That's
No,
it. Yep.
guess what? Y'all go turn in there.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
you're not learning. But no parent in their heart's like, oh, I don't want my child to be in jail
Mhm.
because of whatever that. But you know,
When I
that's
get
the
a
wrong
chance, yeah.
shoes to
When I get
walk.
a chance, I want to say something after that on that topic. Just
Yeah,
finish off
go
your
ahead. I just
statement
want to say
first.
that's the truth. My
That's a
thing,
good
that's
point.
the path that you wanted to go,
Mhm.
right? So where your
Hmm.
parents or your environment may have given you a one, get out. What is it called? Monopoly. A
Get
get
out of
out of
jail.
past
Yep.
Get out
jail
of jail.
one
Yeah. Yeah.
time,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
that one time, you should never feel like you could do it again and come back out and say, all
Hmm.
right, you know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
think there's,
Hmm.
yes, where I believe with you, brother Percy, that you know the penalties are not severe enough in prison. It starts from that child don't understand there's a consequence for my
Good. Good.
behavior.
Go ahead, person. I know you. I know
Yeah.
you.
So just to piggyback on that, I'm not a perfect parent because I live in a glass house. I'm not gonna throw stone. But you know what what I instilled in my kids from their four. One was 4, one was 6. When the other one came in, I sit them down. We used to have open mic Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Where, yeah, open mic Sunday after church. We have dinner, open mic because
That's the system.
I used to have 3 people in the house and sometimes 2 boys, 1 girl. And then sometimes the 2 brothers will be not talking to because they used to go to the same school. So sometimes if this one get in trouble, they vex with their sister and then the sister and the other bigger one take side. So sometimes it's round the dinner table. After dinner, we get to hear say, oh, you vexing at the house and to the vex and whatever. However, I said to my children, now listen to me. I don't have the time. I don't have nobody in our society to bail you, and I don't have the money. I am a hard-working man. I'm making $7 an hour. Now
Mhm.
listen to me now. And I said to them straight up, whether it's school, whether it's on the street, if fight comes to your table or it comes to your foot, run as much as you can. But if you run and your back is against the wall, defend yourself.
Yes,
Because
sir.
if a person kill you, it's gonna be a slap on the wrist. Don't go jump to fight first. When my son start going to party,
Mhm.
I say to him, now listen to me. You're grown, you're mature, you know where to go. But remember, those statements that I gave you 10 years ago, it still remains today. So
Mm.
don't run out there and get in no trouble and think that you're gonna run come with the muscle up and try to fight nobody. Run. If you get into a Tim Hortons or you get into a washroom, lock up yourself and I will come and get you anywhere you are in the GTA.
Okay.
But
Okay.
don't wanna go run go through a fist because
Yeah.
oh my dad is gonna bail me. No, 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 no. You're gonna stay there first. Then I'm not gonna get no legal aid. Then I don't have nobody to bail you. Even if I have the resources, because my family is big and they will jump in and help. But I'm the first to say, stop back. This is my tribe. Let me deal with this. So they already have that in their head and they
Mhm.
know I'm serious. I
Yeah.
don't play. I said to you, don't get in no trouble and depend on mommy or daddy is gonna run and bail.
Oh
Up
man.
till today, one of them get in trouble. Some trouble they get into, they don't even tell me. Because they know already. Say, listen, this man ain't coming there.
Right. So
I
they
put up
know.
my house one time. I
They
put
know.
up my house one time to bail somebody, and I almost lose my house
Wow.
because
Wow.
they break the all of the rules that were set up for
Yeah.
them. Don't come to Brampton. They
Yeah.
end up in Brampton. Next thing you know, I almost lose my house that I worked so hard. I wash dishes to buy my little place,
Yep.
Mm.
and because I have a good heart, and I said, you know what, let me help out here. It's family, and from that day, I said, you know what, I wash my hands. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta have the tough love, man. And I like what you
Oh
did there
yeah,
with the open mic. You have a particular time in your house, but
yeah.
that's what Andrew's saying. I think that's a difference, that the communication has dropped off dramatically. And I think because of these devices, right? People have them in your hands, the
Yeah.
kids. Yeah, I mean, I've heard people on talk radio say that they have rules now that they have to set, that you literally can't have dinner and be eating the phone or eating with the phone there, and the first
Yeah,
person.
put the phone down. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is something we see in our society though, Percy. Like when we go to just social gatherings, like people don't even talk. It's like they talk for 2 minutes and okay, you have nothing
On
else
the
to say.
phone.
All right, let me just
Mhm.
scroll through my phone, right? So if the kids are already taking that approach to it, the communication is not there. I don't think they have the wherewithal to actually have a dialogue that goes
Mhm.
beyond music and what's trending. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
that's that's another part, another branch on this tree
Mhm.
that we're talking about. So we talked
Mhm.
about communication, we talked about consequence, we talked about having to parents who bail out their children time after time or get somebody else to bail them, and don't say,
Mhm.
okay, listen, that's it, man, once, two, three times you're out. And these kids believe that there's no kind of consequence.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think we also need, it might be another, if next time you do a live tough forum, maybe get some of these younger youths, the 15-year-olds, the 16-year-olds,
Yeah.
to have that kind of conversation. Let's hear their point of view. Let's hear where we have missed, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, as much as we want to say, oh, well, they have to make up their own mind, there's somewhere we have missed something. There's something that
Yeah.
wasn't connected. When
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone heard about the shooting out in the Georgia high school in the
Mhm.
States, right?
Yeah.
What makes a child get up in the
14.
morning time, brush their teeth, put on their clothes, get their backpack, and I'm gonna pack a gun at the same time, and I'm gonna go shoot up a school. Like, what is in their thought process, or what happened that they feel that this was the only alternative to do, right? What happened when this guy says, I got into a fight with somebody and this happened, but my next alternative is just to kill this guy? What was their
Mhm.
thought process? And that's what I always go back to. Like, what were they thinking? When a young person, you know, adults do adult things, and sometimes it's race motive or whatever. But I really think it was like the 13, the 14, the 15. Like, what made this child decide she's gonna go set somebody on fire?
Hmm.
Like, what was her thought? Like, she got up in the morning. What was her thought process that was the only thing that
Okay.
she could have come up with?
Percy, I know your time is limited, so speak on that, and then I'm
Mhm.
going to touch on it after that. What do you think that the process is in these kids' head nowadays when they leave the house?
Well, you know what I think? Everything starts from home base. So if I in my space and my child hear me talking about giving God thanks and
Mm,
no eye for no eye and no tooth for no tooth, that child here, because that child is a product of their environment.
Okay.
So if
yes.
I'm the person that says, yo, you see if I got disrespect me, yo, when I'm done with him, and at the same time, I'm telling my kids, anybody
Don't.
disrespect you, defend, just go
Yes.
do what you have to do,
Yeah.
done there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that same child that packed that backpack, pack
Yep.
that gun in there, that daddy must have had more than one gun. And they're talking maybe racial hatred or whatever. So at
Yep.
the end of the day, if you throw 5 stones out there in your space, one of them is going to hit the target. So it
Yes, sir.
depends on the conversation that you're having, the movies that you're watching, the music that we're listening to. I listen to what my kids are listening to. Sometimes I just said, hey, let me hear what you're listening to, man.
Yeah. You got to keep your
And
ear to
what I try to do, yeah, and you talking about no this and no that and no yo dog and no, and I said, listen to me. If you want to hear that kind of closer to that, if it's the rhythm you love, if
Yeah.
it's the lyrics you love, we have guys out there that are saying good, decent lyrics with the
Well,
same genre of music that can match up in a spiritual way. And again, if the foundation is not a spiritual foundation, you cannot teach spiritual things.
okay.
However, one last thing, however, I remember back in the days, as we said, go back to the basics. If a parent is not going to church or Sunday school, they would make sure that that grandchild or that child push them in a church because they
Okay.
know that once
True.
this foundation is laid and that seed is planted, you
Mm,
might divert, you might go up, you might go down, but you have to come back to the basic.
good one. Back to the basics. Okay. Thank you for that,
That's
sir.
it.
For those who
That's
tuning
it.
in or those who are going to catch this later on the YouTube channel at Tough Forum, we're just talking about it tonight. Do you remember back in the days in September? And now we're in September. And I just want to know, what do you remember? What you were doing when you were 13, 14, 15, 16? We got some
Mhm.
young people out here doing some crazy things. And my spin on this right now, another thing, when my wife just asking, what's the mind thought? What's the process when a child gets up, brushes their teeth, packs their bag, and then puts a gun in there or packs a lighter and lighter fluid and says, I'm gonna go light up this girl today. Whether they're not they've been bullied. This is my take also. I think this generation and has these last two generation, whatever, have been growing up with I can get anything I want or I must get it,
Right.
and if I
Mhm.
don't get it,
Mhm.
I'm going to get it somehow or another way. And if I don't get it, well, I'm gonna hurt somebody, or if somebody um is bullying me, I'm gonna take matters into my own hand, type of thing.
Yeah.
Because remember, at that age, also your mind is not developed, and I think what they see on TV is more real to them, more than like when we used to watch TV. First of all, we actually said, okay, that's TV. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the most things we'd probably try is like to be a superhero or something, but there was none of
Yeah.
those nonsense. We're gonna go out there and say we're taking up something
Nah.
and like, oh. But these
Yeah.
kids, man, they're watching movies and they're holding guns like this. Like we just saw a home invasion happen right in front of our face in Markham,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And these people were there going in with guns, and this I'm looking at these little whippersnappers, man. I'm like, like you could
Like,
break
what are
them like a
you
twig, but
doing? Mm-hmm.
they got guns and they're waving
Mhm.
around like you would
Mhm.
see something on TV. We saw a car drive over a police
Tim
cruiser at a
Police.
Hortons.
Tim Hortons, and we're
Oh
like, and the
Lord.
witness is like, this is straight out of a movie.
A
But that's
movie.
what I'm saying. Reality and fiction have fused, and these
Yes.
kids are saying, you know what? I can do it too. If these guys are not gonna be meanies, I'm gonna bring my gun because my pops got a gun and he showed me how to use the
Mhm.
gun, right?
Mhm.
So that's why even
Mhm.
parents are being charged right now
Mm-hmm.
in the states and certain places, right? Because they know that these kids were writing letters saying, "Oh, I'm gonna hurt this person." Teachers got shot,
Mm-hmm.
students got shot. People are traumatized right now, and those are lives that are not going to be accounted for, or they're. I
Mhm.
mean, they have family too. So I think also to add to that is that these youths nowadays believe that they're gonna get it at any cost. And if it
Mhm.
means that I'm gonna come out of prison on bail and risk um going back in again, well, that's a small price to pay because it's not
Yeah.
gonna be long enough because I'm out again to be able to go make another whatever. Mm.
Before I
Yes,
go out, because you know my time is limited.
yes,
There's a slang that I heard a couple of months ago that there's a guy from my island, and he says, the guy came up. This guy's been here for about 30 years, and he comes out. Another guy comes from the same island, and he comes and he says, The guy bring him to his house. This guy's in construction, and he goes, he stand on the outside. He goes, "This is where you live, man.
Yeah.
All these years, all the time in Canada, man." So the guy says, "Well, I'm working, and
Yeah.
this is what it is. Life is not easy." You know what
No.
the guy says to him?
What?
"I don't come here to waste time. I come to cut the line."
Oh, okay.
So that means you being here, you're wasting time. He come here already with a premeditated notion that this is it. It's a microwave time. I gotta get it now because the
Reconcile.
oven is getting cool. And he said, "I did not come here to waste time. I come to cut the
Yeah.
line."
Yeah.
So imagine that statement. That's deep.
What did he come here to? What did he come here to do? Not to waste time, eh?
He said he's not coming to waste no time, buy no construction and do no work like I'm doing, pushing the broom. And at the end of the day, that same guy would come to your little dwelling, your tabernacle, and this guy would say, "Yo, you're going on like your big shop. And look how y'all live. Y'all live large because I buy a little minivan and I buy a little car. When I take time, one of them I have to patch it out. And he might make
Right?
sure tell us, if I not drive a BMW in this place, I'm not drive that."
Oh gosh, stop it, stop it.
No, I'm being real.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you know what? As again, we have to be careful what we say around our children.
Yes, sir.
And what is our motives in some of the conversations that we're having? Because these young kids, as you said, their minds are being formed from from the belly. And therefore, if we're not careful, as the Bible says, we should avoid idle babblings,
Mm-hmm.
idle conversations, because these kids are learning from the belly. When they come out, they're microwave kids. I got a 2 year old at my house right now. You know what that kid did? He
What's that?
went on Amazon and he ordered $900 worth of music because he loves music. And
Yeah.
his mom and dad and we buy him drum sets, and he's a gifted kid and he wants to play everything for him is a drumstick. And he
We.
watch and listen. Just to go back on where we talk about the majority and the minority, you got some brilliant kids.
Yes, sir.
Up to the other day, we have this thing where the kids are going off to university, and my heart, I cried because I said we still have hope
We do have
because
hope.
children are still going to university and colleges. But because the tree little one that is the two bad apple that is spoiling the old bunch,
That's
grape,
right.
it makes me look so bad and it's magnified more than the good. Did you ever
Of
see
course.
them anytime advertise and say, "Hooray, we got a number of graduates from the black community. We just graduated 30, 40, 50 of them." You're not going to hear that.
No, sir.
Today I was in Shoppers World, in not Shoppers Drug Mart, and I see a young man. He had a clipboard and I walk over to him. I couldn't resist. I said, "Young man, I'm so proud of you."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "I leave one thing with you. Each one, teach one. And get as much as you can get another young man off the street in here to even pack the shelves. His paycheck, his $10 is his money. So each one, teach one. And whatever you have, share it.
Thank you,
Talk
sir.
to them. Let them know that there is more life than selling drugs on the street, more life than drinking alcohol. There's a lot more life. There's a lot more future for you. Just invest your time. So many
What?
resources are here for these children, and you're just wasting their lives.
Yes,
Mm.
sir.
It's about
Man,
time
man,
we pull up
man. Listen,
back
listen.
to the basic,
Thank you, sir.
back to the basic, back to
Thank,
life, back to reality.
thank you, sir.
And I'm
Listen,
out. You
brother.
know my time already. I
Yes,
gotta,
man. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
So
Thank you for
God
your time.
bless you. God bless you, couple.
Don't
You
worry,
guys are
man.
doing a wonderful job. Some more
Appreciate
life,
it, man.
more
Don't worry.
love, more
The
strength.
people want to see your face, so next time we're gonna put you on. All right. Don't worry. Do your
You
thing
know it
alone.
go.
You
You
know
know
you
it
do.
go.
Yes, man. Respect every time.
Honor
All
the
right.
radar. Yes.
All right. Yes,
Guidance and
people out
protection.
there on
Enough
the
love.
battlefield, person of the gentleman out there on the battlefield talking to the kids, one on one. Definitely, he gets to talk to them every day. And we're talking about it tonight, open mic style. We're just trying something new today, just because we want to talk about it. So if you see the link in anywhere, you can link on it and come on, and or you want to type it in, whatever you want to do, just type in your thing on Tough Form or on the Facebook at Tough Form, or Yes, even on Instagram at Tough Forum. Everything's Tough Forum because we're dealing with some tough issues here. But yeah, we're in September. Do you remember what you were doing in September when you were 13, 14, 15? September, first week down, and plenty people also down for good. I mean, death, 11 shootings over the weekend. We got mass shooting in the States, teachers and kids. And over here in BC, a child set on fire by a 13-year-old girl. What is happening? Okay. I see another person ready to chime in. It's open mic with little time we got left. What you got to say on what's happening in September? Do you remember, Nikki, what you were doing in September?
At the age of 13, 14.
At 13, 14, 15?
Is she not on? Is she muted?
Nikki, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Yeah. What were you doing? Do you remember what were you doing in September when you were 15, 14? I'm pretty sure it wasn't what we see happening on the news. We're talking about black on black, and the fatherless homes that people believe are contributing factors to why we're seeing such black and black violence, why we're seeing the gun violence in particular. We believe also, as somebody, not, but commentaries are saying that the police have been taken out of school, contrary to what black people wanted, the majority of black people, and yet I believe these are only two small factors. There is so many tentacles to this thing. So we've been talking about a couple of things, and what do you have to chime in on it tonight?
Great job, I must say, and great topic. I definitely think that this new era is something that is very new to me in terms of what I know young people should be or would be doing at 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yep.
It really baffles me to think that the minds of people have gone this far to in terms of violence. When I was 13, 14, 15, I'm not even sure. Like for me, I don't even think that was able to even have friends over, much less.
I think we're
I
all
was
on
never.
this.
Yeah, I wasn't able to have friends over, and actually, I'd be able to have friends over more than I would even be able to go out to my friend's home. But it would have to be like this one person, and we're together, open doors, outside with the parents. There's nothing closed door, and every conversation that we're having they would be able to hear that. So nothing as what we're seeing right now.
Definitely. And when you hear a 13-year-old setting somebody on fire over in BC, I mean, regardless of bullying, he says, what is a child thinking when they get up in the morning and they pack their knapsack and they say, oh yeah, I got to bring this little gun with me too, or this lighter fluid? Like, is it just because of the lack of communication, or is it just really such a big issue at the top of this tree that you're in homes that don't have father figures that makes the mind go this way? Or is it just because they're just not developing their mind? What are the things that you attribute this to?
Um, You mentioned bullying, but I think it has a little bit to do with bullying, not even bullying, peer pressure. It's definitely not bullying. Bullying that we know, well, I know growing up was
We were
mainly,
both.
taking your lunch,
Yeah.
stuff like that. There wasn't anything about bringing weapons to school, and like we wouldn't even want to have a knife or anything like that to be taken to school.
But the fear
So
of trouble.
yeah, and when people talk about father figure in the homes, I think that's overrated. Actually, I don't really think it has anything to do with fathers. Yes, it's good to have fathers in the home, but I basically was raised. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing
Yeah,
you.
go
I'm hearing
ahead.
you.
Yes, I was raised by my grandparents, my mom. So my dad was never in the picture. And
Okay.
so my upbringing, I think, was great, and it had nothing to do with a father being around, which I didn't have. And so attributing these things to a father figure not being in the home, I think it's definitely doesn't stand or shouldn't stand. Mothers do raise wonderful children. I do think that it has to do with friends, and it has to do with just children thinking that they need to show off, to show that, okay, I can do this, I can, or just the fact of, I know this is going to go, as social media has become so widespread now. You know, before you didn't have your phones or email, internet, nothing was on the road. You normally
Mhm.
would go home and you would have your internet at that time, but now we have everything at our fingertips. And we see, and I'm gonna say Darmar, where he bring this episode where, you know, you're so red eye, so to speak, regarding
Yeah.
someone. And so you go out and you act as if, well, you have this thing too. And then they see you down the street and it's not really that thing that you have. You're here, or you're saying that you're out of the country when
You're
you're
really
actually here, but doing it. And yeah, and you want to be a
Yeah.
part of that too. So you're showing. So social media has just shown it's not necessarily the truth. And that's why seen so many posts that say you have to be careful, because people tell you what they want to tell you. So it's not necessarily the truth. And because you see this glamour and this glitter on social media,
Mhm.
you think that, okay, oh my God, that person has that. And how, what do I have to do to get that? What do I have to do to
Yeah.
live that lifestyle? And so it becomes depressing, all these things. And I want to have that too. I want to be able to do this too. And to what extent, what will we do to actually get that? And putting a spin to it in terms of Christianity, we all know that the devil is out, and like he
She trip out.
Nikki, you tripped out a little bit there. I
I'm
lost
trying to
Nikki.
talk. Oh, there she is. She's back.
Nikki, you tripped out there, but okay, hold on. I'm gonna come back to you, Nikki. So if you're hearing this, I'm gonna come back to you. I'm gonna
Yes, I
come
can.
back to you. All right, hold that thought, though, Nikki. But I like what you were saying there. Um, I like what you were saying there with that, because we were talking that earlier on, that the social media, it's almost as if, no, it's definitely that social media has magnified, what would you call it now? Magnified um the 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 peer pressure part of it. So because of that, like you said, I want it and I want it now.
Mhm.
But I want to hear Junior, you're there. Thanks for coming on. We're talking tonight. It's an
Oh,
open mic session. What do you have to say on the topic that, what were you doing in September? Do you remember when you were 14, 15, 16, and you see what the 14, 13 are doing right now? Last weekend, 11 people shot, 3 dead. Girls swarm men, stabbing, right?
oh
So men
wow.
are dying. Junior, what were you doing when you were 15, 14?
Oh Lord have mercy. I don't know, man. I could tell you it was. I'm just seeing this for the first time. I'm like saying, "What? Okay, what's this going on here?" And I'm there wondering because I was just on my way out to a praise thing just
All
now.
right.
But anyway, I'll tell you what. What was I doing 14 and 15 years old? Oh my gosh.
Were
You
you
know
doing
what I
anything?
was
Were
doing?
you doing anything like what you see happening on TV today?
Absolutely not.
Why? 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 Weren't you free to
I
just
don't
roam the
know.
street?
I guess when you're raised in a
Okay.
strict home,
Uh-huh.
that is only fears God. But the only problem is my dad wasn't saved, but he wasn't home. But it's always my mom who was the one that was holding down the family.
Mhm.
And where was I? 15, 16, where was I? Singing in choirs,
So you were church
going to
influenced.
concert
Okay.
on Saturdays. 13, 15, yeah. Going to concerts mostly, church concert. Uh, well, I was back and forth whenever time summer came around, Caravana.
Hey, were you ever bullied? Were you ever bullied?
Did I ever get a bullet?
Were you
Nope.
ever bullied? Did anybody bully you?
I would say yes.
Did you see people get bullied?
I've never seen people got bullied. I have seen a few get bullied.
And you were bullied. Did you go and say, I need to pack a bat, a gun, a knife? I'm going to do something. I'm going to burn some people up?
No, that never crossed. Sometimes that came across my mind, but I know I wouldn't have the guts to do it.
So why do these kids nowadays seem to have the guts that we're seeing it? Black on black violence, especially in the where the guns are concerned, that you see young men run up and down the streets in Hamilton. Just this week, they showed 2 incidents where the guys were like 10 feet from each other, literally shooting at each other. You said that you had the fear of God driven into you at 14 and 15. So
Yeah,
are
the
you
fear
saying
of
that,
God.
that this age group now, there's no discipline, there's no there's no fear?
Well, there is no fear, lack of discipline. Maybe like somebody said, just say there was no father in the house.
Yeah.
I had
You
a
think that's
father
a
in the
contributor?
house.
So you had a father in the house. Do you think that made a difference because you said your mom was holding it down though, because your father
Yeah,
was
my dad was working a lot.
okay.
So he worked, but there are times he would be home. He'd take us places whenever time he's off, and oh, it's so much different. I can honestly say the kids today are probably just on loose cannon right now as we speak. It's like if you lick, back then you used to get licks. Okay, come on, licks.
No, I know. I kind of want to run from there. I have to stay politically correct because
it is the fact.
I think that's one of the things that we're harping on is that it's like we were
Yeah.
like right now it's taboo to say licks or to spank, right? I mean, I think the discipline action that people are more prone to use nowadays is taking away items like your tablets and Johnny go sit in the room and read a book type of thing. But no,
Yeah.
we got it. Poof.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the fear of getting in trouble. So, Nikki, like you said that we would never pick up a knife and go to school because we were afraid of getting in trouble, right?
Yes.
So, yes, and even
Correct.
though, yes, it was spankings and whatever, not, there were still people that I knew some people who didn't get spanking, but there was still fear of getting in trouble. And I find what's happening now is that there's no fear, right? And
There's no
Nikki,
fear.
you brought up a very good point about social media. Social media now has driven people into a sense of false lifestyle, right?
Okay.
They want something that they don't have, and this also comes back to confidence and how you raise your child to confidence and respect who they are and how they're not wanting something else that someone else has, right? So there's this spirit of entitlement, this spirit of I want what that person has, and the person it kind of comes in two folds. So the person who's going on all these trips are not saying that I had to work 4 or 5 jobs to go on these trips. You're only seeing that this person, this glorified part of them, but they're not seeing that path that was taken to get there. Do you know what I mean? So they're seeing this glamorous lifestyle, whether it's true or not true, but the path to get there is what's being missed. So people are just saying, well, how come they're doing that and I'm not, right? So because of that, now that leads into a whole bunch of different avenues. You have people who are depressed over people's lifestyle. You have people who are very jealous of people's lifestyle. Why don't I have that lifestyle? I want that lifestyle. I want this. I want that.
Some people will kill for it.
And some people will kill
As
for
we
it,
can see.
right? This may sound really ridiculous, but I'm going to say this. And
No, it's true.
don't
Go
have
on,
to say this, right? Hitler, growing up, Hitler growing up saw the Jews were living a better life than he was. If you go back and you look at the thing, saw in the better life than he had, and he grew a hatred for this nation, right? People, when they start seeing people have a better life than they have, and they want that life, they start to have that envy, and that hatred starts to build, right? So because of that, now you have people going around killing people for things that they didn't do, stalking people, social media, etc., right? And then now they can't handle the emotions. So someone's getting bullied at school, someone is seeing someone else's life, they can't handle those emotions. No one's talking to them about their emotions. Parents are being blinded blinded, not seeing these emotions, and then this is how it all comes out in a nice, not in a horrible overflow of a basket.
I knew a
But the
friend of
tears are strong
mine.
still.
I knew a friend of mine that got killed, senseless, for no reason. I don't know if Andrew remembers him. Is this live? Like,
Yeah, it is.
It
You don't
is,
have to say no
it is,
names.
yes.
Just say the story though. What happened?
well, some years I think just in my earlier marriage, they lived in this family lived in over by where's it, Eglinton and Martin Grove area
Mm-hmm,
there.
mm-hmm.
That used to be a bad area.
Yep, I used to frequent there.
Yeah. And one of the guys who I went to church with. It was big news. It went on the
Mm-hmm,
news too. And he got killed for no reason.
mm-hmm.
People are wondering, why did they kill this guy? He was studying to be a police officer, and they were moving out of there to get a nice home and
Look at that.
what have you.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And then the mother left. I think the mother left to go to the laundry. And then when the mother came back, I think there were two guys that went into the apartment or wherever because they were moving, and he was wrestling with one guy had a knife, the other guy had a gun. He was fighting the both of them, probably wanting to get set up, and he got stabbed and shot up so many
Wow.
times,
Wow.
fighting the guys off, and and that was it. Well, mother came back, found him in a pool of blood.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happened? That was shocking. I had to take too deep. When I heard what happened, I got the call from at the time. Somebody called my house at the time, and they told us, and I was like, "What?" I was in deep distress.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "What the heck happened?"
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew what happened. The only thing I could say, well, then after everything was said and done, the first thing came out of some people's mouths was saying, "You know what? When you're in an area like that,
Okay.
they always say, don't say a word. Just walk out quietly."
All right. I'm a piggyback what you just said about don't say a word, Nikki. I don't know if you're hearing all this too, because even in the incident that happened at Chethui, 15-year-old boy passes away, and a lot of the witnesses, no one's coming forth. No one is saying anything. A day after, we hear of something happened just down the street, and some people are saying it could be retaliation, whatever. Right? This is one incident. So, have we been trained? I even asked my wife this the other day. Have we been trained in our community that when it comes to police issues, keep your mouth shut? Nikki, let me ask you: have you been told mind your own business type of thing, or is it like taboo to talk to police about?
I can't say yes to that because I've never really been in a situation like that, and hope to God I have never in one either.
Okay, Nikki and Junior, both you can answer this. Would you tell your kids if they know something is happening with somebody walking around with a gun in their school, in their area, in their surroundings or their circle? Would you want them to report it?
Well, first I'd like
Well,
them to
well,
come
all
to me.
depends
Hold
because
on, Junior. Let me hear what Nikki's saying first, and then I come back.
Go ahead, Nikki.
I was saying, like, first I'd like them to come to me regarding it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
I
think
agree.
I would
Then,
basically analyze the situation from there and see where it's taken. Because a lot of these children, as we were talking about, the same, they just want to look bad, show bad at bad. So it's not necessarily even a real weapon. And I think that we can create a huge problem by, just saying the wrong thing, and it's not even real. And I understand that the fact that you have a fake thing, it's a wrong move in the first instance anyway, but I think because they want to show face, so to speak, then they may just have something that's not real, and it really
Okay,
tarnishes them. And especially when you're Black, this thing travels with you.
got you. So you wouldn't want them to make false accusations. You want them to come to you first, and
Yes,
then
come
you
to
can.
me. And, yeah.
All right, Junior. So what your kids, you have children growing up now, and you're gonna have to teach them and talk to them, and you have a son, he's Black. You're gonna have to talk to him about how he corresponds with police officers and how he gives information. You know how the saying goes, snitches get stitches and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
what's your stance when you're talking to your kids on that?
Well, first up, my son, he's only 13 years old.
He's at that age, buddy. We're talking about that same age group.
He's
Right?
autistic, so that's hard
Okay.
for me to question that. But if he did come, if it came to that,
Yeah.
I would like for him to come and see me first, talk to
So
me.
you're in the same thing. Okay.
I would say talk to me, and then maybe we can go to the police together, because I would have to say, please forgive him. He's
Okay.
a different human being. He's autistic. He wouldn't understand. I would like them to come and see
Okay.
me or see Nikki, my wife. My wife's name is Nicole. So,
Yeah.
and we would have to sit and talk about it and let us decide whether he should go to the police or not. Because I would urge him not to. Because sometimes these cops, if it's white police officers or whatever, they don't care. They have this thing where they'll go back and say, oh, it was the Stevenson family there on that street there. They were the ones that ratted on you.
Yeah.
And that's what
Cops tend to do that. So this is why people don't talk.
All
And
right.
the cops
Thank you.
want you to talk.
I listen. I'm with you, and I believe that's one of the issues that faces us. We're dealing with a tough issue here with black on black violence and black on black gun violence in particular. And when I look at the demographics, when I see that what's happening, and I'm gonna ask my wife not to chime in because she said something the other day. I want to make her say it, but I know this was something that I grew up on also. When I asked you, because we have two boys and a daughter. They're growing now, but they have their children growing up now, and I'm sure they're gonna have to go through some stuff with them and talk. What do you do when you see police officers? What do you do when you see violence occurring in your midst? How do you handle that, right? And we're accustomed, we grew like this: mind your own business, right?
Yeah.
What don't
That's
concern you, leave it alone, right? But I'm gonna ask Angie because she said something the other day where she says, tell them to just mind your own business. So now that you've raised your children and now you have grandchildren, what's the advice you'd give your sons to talk to their boys that are gonna be now getting to that age?
Wow, way to put me on the spot there.
No,
Wow.
because these are the things
These are
that
the things,
yes, why
because
some crimes don't get solved because
Yes.
we're worried about the battle of so
the backlash. So yes, so the thing is about we were always taught them to mind your own business, hold your head straight. It doesn't concern you. Keep your head straight and whatever. And because we were raised with that, these are like you're saying. There's crimes that are unsolved because no one is speaking about it, right? So. It's hard to say to your person, somebody, mind your own business, keep your head straight while your whole neighborhood is being shot up, right? It's hard to say mind your own business when you're walking out and you see a drug dealer selling drugs right in front of you, right? But then it also becomes a place where when you go and you have these conversations with authority and they point you back out, now your whole family now is exposed. Right, so you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? And you had the anonymous tip line, right? And I remember two tips, right? And I remember just distinctly. This is when we were younger, and I think we just had Andrew and Ashton. I was watching City TV News and 222 tips, and someone called in a tip, and they played the recording on TV saying, can this person call back because they're looking for more information? So now how do you feel? Like you called in something anonymous because you were scared and you were upset and whatever, and you're going to play that on TV. Now, you may not recognize the voice, but somebody else who's in that situation might recognize the voice. So I
Yeah.
think there needs to be a level of trust built back between authorities and the community so that these crimes can be solved. I've had an uncle who was just standing outside. So when you're talking about gun violence, yes, my family has experienced it. My uncle was just playing basketball, standing outside, talking with his friends. Two people came running by, shoot him, and he got shot, right, and died. You know what I mean? And to this day, we still don't know who it was, and I'm pretty sure people know, and no one is talking because of this stuff that happens, right?
The
So
same thing with same thing with my friend too.
You're right. So
Till
people
this
know. So
day.
when you're talking about me walking around for the rest of my life not knowing that the person who shot my uncle is never going to become to
Yeah.
justice because no one's going to talk it, that's a hard pill to swallow. But then you still turn around and you think, but I know why people are not talking because they don't want their family involved in it. So
Or
you're
in
trying to
jeopardy.
teach your children to do the right thing, but then you have to also protect them, right? And this is where trust has to be built back between authorities and communities, right? And I do see the police are trying to be more involved in the communities so children aren't afraid of the police officers, they're not afraid of things, but that trust has to be built back because after I saw that, there was no way I was calling 222 tips, right? So
No.
these are the things that you literally have to have a conversation with your child and say, not every police is the same, right? Not because there's a police officer mean they're bad. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not everyone is the same, but we have to have a conversation how we build that trust. How do we understand what to do?
Well said. Well said. Well said. Okay, look, guys. Look here. I know we're running out of time, so I'm gonna let you guys go on this last one. But we're talking tonight on the Tough Forum here about, do you remember what you were doing in September when you were 13, 14, 15? Junior, I know you got to go too, but listen, I want to just give, if you can, in about 30 seconds or so, each of you, I'll go with you first, Junior, though. I'm going to ask this question because on one of these talk shows, someone was saying, who is talking to these youth out here? Don't these youth who are shooting and doing these carjackings and doing all these other manner of evil, don't they got parents too? Then it made me start thinking, do we tackle this subject in a church setting? And because I'm talking to two people who I know are church people here, I want to know, is this something that we tackle within our church communities, that we have more than 30 seconds or 2 minutes to talk to somebody about a lifestyle they're living or that they see out there, and we can sit down and have, like how we have this hour here talking and saying, listen, what are some of the things that you're facing in your school, in your community, in your work, and how can we help you so that you don't fall victim to doing some of the things that you've seen happening on streets because you're being bullied, or because you've been targeted, or because you have hate built up, or because you have poor communication between your family, or you don't have a father in your house? Are these things being talked about in your churches, in your respective churches, or in your church groups, in your men's group? I'll start with you, Junior. Just give me 40 seconds. And if you're not, if yes, please say. If no, please say. And if you think there's a need for it that can help this problem, speak on that. And then I'll take you, Nikki. Go ahead, Junior.
Well, I believe that in the church setting, we're not talking about it enough.
Okay.
Especially amongst the men's group, because I believe as men of God, to be honest with you, we're I'm just gonna be honest.
Speak it.
Men are lacking a lot of leadership.
Okay. So you're not seeing it even in your respective church area or places that you
I
go?
don't see it much in the community or in the church, because I understand we as men, we have to go out there. We're the providers. We're supposed to be the protectors. We got to go out there and work, but we got to spend a little time with the children, what's going on in the community,
Right.
and we need to talk about these issues.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm trying to get my men's group, like, because I wanted to put on another men's gathering.
Yep.
This time I want to talk about taking lead.
Hmm.
We
Are you
need
going
to.
to incorporate? Are you going to incorporate the younger youths also in that?
I want the younger people, the younger men, to come in to
Good.
this.
So you already have a plan, but right now you don't see it per se.
Right now, I'm not seeing it enough. I'm not seeing
Okay.
enough of it.
Okay. Thank you for that.
But
Thank you for that.
yeah,
Thank you for that, Nikki. What's happening on your side? Are you seeing anything happen in your areas where church is concerned that this is being dealt with on a level where we actually talk about these issues?
To the topics that's discussed, and the men's ministry in it's not something I would actually ask my husband about, and even if I did, he's pretty private. He wouldn't even tell me anyways. But besides that, I do definitely.
Okay. Okay.
no, that's the thing. They
Yeah, he
don't
wouldn't
talk to
tell
their
me
women
nothing.
about it.
So do you? So you don't know? You're not sure then if anything is being done in that
But I
perspective where
think
they're having a conversation about it. Okay.
yeah, I don't know
I
if
think it's the wrong question to ask a lady, to be honest.
Okay, okay. Fair enough. Enough said. Enough said. Listen, I know it's a touchy subject, but I want to thank you and all my guests for coming on tonight. Those who took the opportunity to come and use this open mic tonight as we're touching this topic, very touchy subject. But nonetheless, I want to thank you all for your
No
time,
problem.
because I know time is something you can't get back. And now
No.
I'm gonna let you go with that. But thanks for supporting this channel, and you can always look me up on Tough Form on Facebook. You can see me on YouTube also at Tough Form. Come on, help me out, subscribe, and just follow me when we come
Yeah.
back again. I'm gonna do this another time again, another pop-up mic where I'll send a link. You guys could link in, you could come in, or you could type in your questions or your opinions and stuff. But it's something I want to leave this with a positive note, that there is more people that are graduating that are not shooting people. There's way more people that may be coming from a single parent home, but they are flourishing.
Mhm.
So what we're seeing on TV, though, it's disheartening. And though it's happening a lot where gun is concerned amongst our own people that look like us, we still have to take hope that, you know what, there's going to be a change, that there's going to be, even with that small element of people, they can still be reached, they can be rehabilitated, and there has to be more consequences in the legal system, in the judicial system, to make more consequential penalties, that when they go in, it's not just a revolving door.
That's
And
correct.
because this revolving door is happening within our bail systems, you have people out there on prior charges. I mean, they just showed a picture of a guy who was arrested now, I think, or a suspect for 2 different shootings in the last couple months, right?
Mhm.
So, and these are just total different areas. So, with that being said, it's still a fringe element. It's a lot though, because I mean, 500 guns got taken off the road, and that's good. The police are doing what they can do. They're doing a good work out there. They're seizing a lot of stuff, but we still have to get to the core. We have to get to the forefront of it and stop it before it gets to that level. And I'm sorry, 13 is still kind of reaching that borderline. You got to hit them from
Yes,
8,
yeah, I
10,
know.
11, and
Yeah.
start drilling them with some stuff that they're gonna face, and say, listen, come talk to me. Do not be afraid to come and talk to your mother, your father, your uncle. And I just want to thank my guest tonight, and Nikki and Junior, Percy,
Yes.
long time, and my wife
Uh,
Angie for sitting in with me tonight. I know you guys gotta go. Much love to you all, and just, be vigilant. God bless you and your families, and you keep that communication alive. Nikki, find out what's
Thank.
happening with the young men, man, because guess what? You
I
got
w-
young men in your house too,
Or
right?
I
draw
I
your
will.
children
However,
into the conversation.
can I ask a question?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
It just came to me just now, actually, and I was just thinking, I know this is your passion. So, have you ever thought about maybe, I know you do this open mic tough forum on stream, but have you ever thought about having a
Panel.
an open session, like in person there, set a date, and just have people sign up and come in. And I think a lot of people, whether it's parents that want to voice and
I know
see,
what she's talking about. Conference.
I'm gonna talk to you, Junior, right after this. Don't worry. After we get off this, I'll talk to you guys. But Nikki, you're right on. You're right. You're spot on. This is why I would let you. Haven't seen me do this in a while, right? Other than my
yeah,
YouTube, I do my YouTube pretty much when I can on Wednesdays. I'm not gonna be pressured and backed into point that I must do this type of thing, but it's a lot, right? It's always talking about dying. But yes, the Lord woke me up the other morning, and what came to me, Junior, was crusade. I need a men's crusade, but before that, also I need a meeting of like-minded people in different churches and areas too, that we can sit in a room for a couple hours and just talk.
yeah,
But it also means, Nikki, that we got to get these young people here, and unfortunately, sometimes the pessimist in me
Yeah.
says that these guys don't really want to come out. You know what I mean? They're not really interested in this thing. I remember when I was at our former church, Nikki, we started a thing, me and Brother Sean. We saw a need with the young men in action, and we said we
yeah,
can't wait till they're 16. We started with them when they were like 10, 11, right? Because we saw a need, and that was many years ago.
When our
So
boys were young.
yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, that's definitely in the
But do I just drop it off and give them?
that's in the works, right? So we'll
Okay.
we'll definitely be on that page. But in the meantime, just continue to pray for us, and we'll connect with each other. You know what I mean? Junior, I'm gonna holler at you because I want to talk to you about a crusade. But thank you, my guest tonight. You guys have a wonderful night. Nikki, I'll catch you up on the flip side.
okay.
And to all those on my viewing, when you see this online again, please like, and peace and good night.
And everyone.
You have a good
Good night.
night.